If we're going to rank Mike Elko's coaching staff hires, you got to have Collin Klein number one.
You are Locked On Aggies, your daily podcast on the Texas A&M Aggies. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome on in to Locked On Aggies. I'm your host, Andrew Stefaniak. Thanks for making Locked On Aggies your first listen every single day. Today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at LinkedIn. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Terms and conditions apply. Super Bowl's over, ladies and gentlemen. It was a good one. It was a really good one. And it was funny because it was one of those games that it didn't start off exciting. And then, man, it got exciting at the end. Congrats to the Chiefs. But that means football is over and we are officially in the offseason. And it is officially baseball season for those who, like myself, get excited about that. Today, I want to talk a little bit about this coaching staff. You know, I was kind of sitting this weekend and just thinking, man, I love what Coach Elko did with this staff. I really, really do. So I thought, let's rank this coaching staff and the additions. And I think some of these are going to be a little surprising. So the first name, as I said, Collin Klein. Those of you everydayers here at Locked On Aggies know how much I like Coach Collin Klein. I just think he's going to be an absolutely amazing play caller at Texas A&M, and I think you're going to see him. Like I said, I've said this pretty much every time I've discussed him. I think you're going to see him leaving for a head coaching role after a couple years at Texas A&M. That's how talented I think he is. Young guy, of course, so you know he's got a lot of coaching ahead of him, but he's the number one guy. I just think that this offense, last year, and I know, listen, you got a quarterback carousel. You got everything going wrong. I still think that you had Coach Fisher's hands on the offense when we were hoping it would just be when he wouldn't do that anymore. We didn't want to see him do that. We wanted it to just be old Bobby. But, that was frustrating, last season with the offense. But I think that, listen, Coach Elko is a defensive guy. This is Coach Klein's offense. This is whatever he wants to do. Whatever he wants to do, he can do. I think he is going to take this offense to the next level. I think his connection with these quarterbacks is going to be just absolutely incredible. I really think you're going to see this offense go, and of course, Texas A&M's offense wasn't like bottom of the barrel, but there was a lot that needed to be better. So, I think Coach Klein will take it there. He's got the weapons. We feel good about the receivers. We feel good about especially the way they closed. Coach Elko closed in the 2024 class. Feel good about the receivers there in the portal. Feel good about the guys you got in the roster. I feel really good about the tight ends you got in the portal. We know Coach Klein loves to use tight ends. Feel good about the tight ends you've got in the portal, and then you've got on roster already. Running backs, feel great. Offensive line, that won't entirely be his department, but I think the offensive line will hopefully take a step forward. And then quarterbacks, I feel incredibly good about the quarterbacks you have on roster. So I think he's going to have the roster to have an elite offense, but he's got to put it together. And I think Coach Klein can do that. So that is why he is my number one guy. I think that, I feel great about Texas A&M's defense heading into next season. I feel great about it. So if this offense can be above average, this football team can be really, really, really good. If this offense can be great, this football team can be incredible. So, if Coach Klein can take this offense to the next level, watch out. So, the next guy I got, and this is where it gets interesting, is Tommy Moffitt. the strength and conditioning coach. Now, some might say, well, Andrew, strength and conditioning coach, why do you got the strength and conditioning coach? And this is what I'll tell you. I think what he is going to bring to this coaching staff cannot be, it can't be, the excitement around that can't be over-explained. I think that he is one of the best in the business when it comes to strength and conditioning. And another thing, as you every day as you're Locked On Aggies know, is I think that strength and conditioning is going to be such an important part of this football program. We talk about how it plays into keeping players healthy, keeping players on the football field. All of this is important. You have to keep players on the field. And strength and conditioning plays a massive, massive role in that. So, if this team is in shape, the weight room, it teaches discipline. It teaches all these different things that are important on the football field. And I think that Tommy Moffitt is the best in the business when it comes to strength and conditioning. I think he's going to really, change the bodies in the right way of this roster. Put on the right kind of weight. And I think he's going to help, what do we need? Okay, this guy needs to add 10 pounds. This guy needs to lose 10 pounds, whatever. I just think he's going to get this team there. So I think that was an incredible hire and something Texas A&M needed. I think Texas A&M badly needed a solid coach like this. So I'm excited about this one. The next one I've got here is Holmon Wiggins, the wide receivers coach from Alabama. I just think, he's coached a lot of good players at Alabama. He has recruited a lot of good players at Alabama. And I think he's going to continue to do that at Texas A&M. I think he's already done that at Texas A&M. So, and I think the receivers, recruiting is great, but you got to be able to develop these guys. And I think that wasn't great under the last staff. I'd love to see the receiver development be a better, thing on this roster. So I think that Holmon Wiggins can do that. He's another coach that I could see kind of maybe make that, in 2 or 3 years, take that next step to maybe an OC position or something. I think he's a really good coach, young coach in college football. So I think he's going to take a step in the right direction. And then I've got Ishmael Arstide, the secondaries or the defensive back coach, excuse me. What I think that his importance, I think his importance is how bad the DBs were last year. There was not the best position group on the team. There's no debate there. And I think that if you want to turn, so this is one. I think he's going to be a great coach, but I'm saying this is one that I think just kind of is based on importance to the upcoming few seasons. You have got to make the secondary better, and I think Coach Arstride can do that. I think that he knows Coach Elko is with him at Duke. He's been around the SEC. I think that made a stop in A&M. I think he's going to be a really good coach, and I think he's got to fix the secondary. If this I feel great about the front seven. I think everybody here listening today feels great about the secondary. I feels great about the front seven. If the if the secondary can be better, if the secondary can have a good season, this defense can be one of the best in the SEC, one of the best in college football. And just with the coaching staff you have, it really can. You just need the secondary to be good. So if coach can coach them up and get them good, then we're in a good spot here. The last name I have here is Adam Cushing, the offensive line coach, another guy that came with Coach Elko from Duke. And listen, his offensive lines speak for themselves. The numbers are really good. He is also the run game coordinator, which is very important. That means he's going to be helping this team find ways to run the football. Texas A&M struggled to run the football last year. The yards per carry on the ground, those numbers were not great. So, Coach Cushing, I've talked about it. I think that these two coaches we're discussing right now, this is their importance. I think the two most significant question marks heading into next season are the secondary and the offensive line. If these two coaches can develop those positions, Texas A&M can be a really good football team next season. if those two positions struggle and you have one kind of catastrophic issue on each side of the ball at incredibly important positions, then you are really in trouble. So those two coaches, Coach Cushing and Coach Arstide, are going to be so incredibly important when it comes to the development of talent on this roster, recruiting on this roster. And I feel really good about them and what they're going to do with this current roster and the future rosters. So I have seen, moving on here, ladies and gentlemen, I have seen an interesting narrative pop up about the 2025 recruiting class. Is Texas A&M behind? I will tell you why they are not. We will have that discussion coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at LinkedIn Jobs. When you're hiring for your small business, you want to find quality professionals that are right for the role. That's why you have to check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs has the tools to help find the right professionals for your team faster and for free. LinkedIn isn't just another job board. LinkedIn has a vast network of more than 1 billion professionals, which makes it the best place to hire. I mean, it really is. It's easy to use. It is the best place to go hire the new employees you're looking for. It gives you access to professionals you can't find anywhere else. LinkedIn does all that while making the process easy and intuitive. Hiring is easy when you have that many quality candidates. So easy, in fact, that 80% of small businesses get a qualified candidate within 24 hours. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, LinkedIn is the place to go. Whether you're looking for a job, whether you are looking for an employee, LinkedIn is the place to go make it happen. I promise you, I've used it. I know folks who have gotten jobs on LinkedIn. It's just the best place to be. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. That's linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. To post your job for free, terms and conditions do apply. So, I've seen an interesting narrative floating around. Now, I always want to add this caveat. When I see something on Twitter from one or two people, that does not mean that the entire fan base feels this way. But I kind of wanted to, for those that do feel this way, I wanted to have the conversation. So let's have the conversation. I've seen some folks on X/Twitter saying that they are a little concerned about the 2025 class. Is Coach Elko behind? And I'll be honest with you. It's a fair thought. It's a fair opinion. I'm not completely knocking this. It's not the most, invalid thought of all time. I kind of want to add that point here. So I'm not, if you do feel this way, I can see where you're coming from. I would argue that Texas A&M is not behind in the 2025 recruiting class. Now, I want to add this point too. As I say all the time, recruiting is relationships. It is like, I need that. I need a sign like that. Recruiting is relationships because it is. Coach Elko, of course, has been here. He's got the relationships with the Texas high school coaches. He's got all that, which helps. But, getting to know these 2025 kids, that should have been done years ago. This is not a now thing. This should, so what I'm saying is the 2026 class will be the first class that Coach Elko will have been able to fully build relationships, develop, get to know the coaches and get to know the players and get to know the families, for a long, long time. That's the first year. Now, that's not to say Texas A&M can't have a top 10 class this year. I'm not in any way, shape, or form saying that. I am simply saying that, it's not going to be possible to build those relationships with this entire recruiting class. Well, this recruiting class you will, but like your targets you won't, because you're going to be going after a lot of guys. Now, making good relationships is so important. Because think about a player that you recruited hard out of high school, and he goes somewhere else, and it wasn't the best stop for him. He transfers to Texas A&M. That's why the relationships are so important. Beyond, it's not like if someone doesn't commit to Texas A&M, you're like, okay, well, whatever. see you, man. Don't care about you. You stink anyway. You know what I mean? That's not how it works. You don't burn bridges because you never know with a new landscape of college football when someone can be in the portal. But so I do think the 2026 class will be the first class where Coach Elko is truly able to build those relationships. But I still think he can put together a really, really even top 10 class in 2024 or 2025, excuse me. So I'm not out here saying that this class is not going to be good. I'm just saying I think that he's going to have to, kind of quickly build some relationships he hasn't already. But so here's what I have. On 3, they have a, they do their recruiting prediction machine is what they call it, I believe. And it has, the percent chances of schools to land a player. So in the top 200 recruits, according to On3, Texas A&M leads for 3 and has 1 committed and is in second place for 5. Now, we are still technically somewhat early in this cycle. Somewhat early. Not, think about it. In you got the important months. You got July and the important recruitment months coming up. So you've got time. But that means that of the top 200 recruits, you are in first place for 3, in second place for 5, and 1 is committed. So that's 9 of those top 200 guys. You have 1 committed, and you're right in the mix for the others. So those races, were the 5 of them where you're in second place. It is early. That does not mean you are out of them. It is not having a lead. You still got visits. You still got all of this new coaching. I mean, there's a lot going on here. So, I think that Texas A&M is in a good spot for this class. Last year I did a show on this when I took over, and I forget when I took over. It was later. It was much later than this. It was after basketball season, near the end point of baseball season. And one thing I discussed was, I saw some people saying kind of similar things. Or should we be concerned about the 2024 class because we don't have a ton of commits? This is all going to go down in the summer and then before the early signing day. That's when this all occurs. So, if you have 5 commits when July comes, there's no reason to be super concerned about the recruiting class. There's just no reason to feel that way. If you have that many commits, in May or whatever, it's the commits are going to come. The recruits are going to come. You don't need to be super worried about that. So no, not in any way do I think Texas A&M is behind in this 2025 class. I think that they are in a lot of races. They have some players committed. They're going to be able to get after some of these other guys. So no, I'm not concerned about this recruiting class at all. I think Texas A&M is going to be just fine in the 2025 class. I think Coach Elko is going to put together a really, really good recruiting class. And I'm kind of anxious to see where it ends up. I think it's going to be a solid class. But I think, like I said, the 2026 class will be the first one that he's built these relationships. He's got to know these families really well. As good as he should for a recruiting class. That's what I'm kind of saying. So, I'm excited to see how it turns out. The summer's gonna be a lot of fun recruiting wise. There's a lot of fun things to discuss when it comes to recruiting the 2025 class. Texas A&M got a massive, I don't have another word for you. Huge, massive, gigantic win over Tennessee on Saturday to really get them back in the middle of the SEC. Back in, it was a real huge win when it comes to seeding NCAA tournament stuff. We'll talk about that win and what the Aggies have coming up right here on Locked On Aggies. But first, I want to tell you about our friends over at FanDuel. Get buckets with your first bet on FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers get $150 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $150 if your bet wins. Bet on all your favorite NBA players and teams with quick bets, live same-game parlays, exclusive props, and a ton more. Football season's over, ladies and gentlemen, but that means it's basketball season. It's baseball season. We got pitchers and catchers are reporting here soon. There's so much. In the sports world, there's never an off season. And that is what we were learning today. Football's over. Hey, you got basketball and baseball's coming up soon. So just visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and shoot your shot. FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NBA. Texas A&M gets the win over Tennessee. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to be honest with you. I was not willing to call my shot on Friday when I previewed this game, but I had a weird feeling Texas A&M was going to win this game. And they didn't just win this game. They blew the doors off of Tennessee, winning this game 85-69 in Reed Arena. I mean, listen to these numbers. You've got 27 points from Boots Radford, 9 of 17, 2 of 7 from deep, 5 rebounds, 5 assists, 27 points. Wade Taylor, 8 of 18, 5 of 11 from 3, 3 rebounds, 7 assists, 25 points of his own. Garcia, 17 rebounds, 9 of those being offensive rebounds. I mean, I'll tell you, ladies and gentlemen, this team just fights. SEC play didn't quite get off to the start many would have wanted, many would have hoped, right? Okay, we know that. But this team is fighting, and this team is starting to turn things around. Now, listen, 11-28 from deep, 39.3%. We'll take that all day long. You hold Tennessee to 27.6% from 3 and 37.1% from the field. Now, Texas A&M still not quite there at the free throw line, 18-25. I would have loved to seen you 21-25, 20-25. Now, listen, we are not going to sit here and yell about free throws when you beat the number 6 team in college hoops. We're not going to do it. Huge win for the Aggies. We're not going to gripe out free throws, but they will matter in the SEC tournament. They will matter in the NCAA tournament. So you got to make the easy ones. So, I mean, just huge win, exciting win. I mean, it was just all around one of the most all around just exciting games I've seen in a long time. I mean, what about Carter's poster? I'm still, that was pretty cool. That was a pretty cool dunk, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to lie to you. That one was awesome. But this win, I mean, you can't even put into words the importance of this win. What a week for the Aggies. I mean, you go to Missouri, you beat them by 19, then you host Tennessee and you beat them 85-69, you beat them by 16 points. I mean, what a week. You didn't just beat people, you dominated people. Now, let's talk a little bit about this upcoming week for Texas A&M. You got to go to Vandy, watch Vandy play a few basketball games. They did beat Missouri, so they do have one SEC win. I'm pretty sure. Let me go ahead and double check for you, because before I make this, I'm pretty sure they were home. Yes, they did host Vandy. Vandy is like the worst basketball team I have ever seen in my entire life. I watched them play the other day, and I promise you I am not lying. I am not kidding. I watched them airball. 3 threes. I watched that occur. That is not a joke. I am not kidding you. That actually happened. So, I mean, this team is really bad. You got to, what I'm saying is, we've seen teams a lot of times, you get the huge emotional win, right? Huge emotional win over Tennessee. And then we got to go play Vandy on the road. It's a weird stadium. You got to travel. It's a lot of weird going on there in Vandy. So you can't, I mean, they're awful. They're awful, but you cannot find a way to lose this game. Have to win it. Texas A&M is back to 6-4 in SEC play. right now, there's 3 teams that are 6-4. Kentucky, Florida, Texas A&M. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that puts Texas A&M technically in 5th, although they're tied with a handful of other teams. I mean, what I'm getting at here, is it likely? Not going to sit here and say the word likely, but you could work back into that 4th seed in the SEC tournament if you continue to play really good basketball, which is so important. If you're a top 4 seed, you get that double bye in the SEC tournament, which, when it comes to Texas A&M seeding, I do think a win in the SEC tournament would help a little bit. Would it bump you a seed line? I don't know, but it never hurts to win a game in the SEC tournament. So that's a goal now, and that goal is going to be achieved by, first of all, beating Vandy on the road. Should not be a difficult task. They are so bad, ladies and gentlemen. No, I know you're coming off, if you were playing Georgia at Georgia, that would really concern me. After an emotional high on this win over Tennessee, playing a really, okay, not good, not awful Georgia team, that would be concerning to me. Playing Vandy, I just think they're so bad that it's not going to be it's not going to be a huge concern. But you still got to win it. Then you go on Saturday to play Alabama. That game's going to be tough. That's a good basketball team. We'll preview that one more, of course, later in the week. But this basketball team did exactly what they needed to do this week. You beat Missouri on the road. You beat Tennessee at home. You've now won, is that 4 in a row, right? 4 in a row? Let me double check that. No, I think it's 3 in a row. Yeah, won 3 games in a row. But still, we'll take that all day. You've won 3 games in a row. Got a chance to make it 4 against Vandy. That's what you have to do to get yourself back in this. So, big win, ladies and gentlemen. Huge win for this team. Back potentially competing to get in the top 4 seed in the SEC tournament, which would be huge. We will break down those games throughout the week. But that is going to do it for today's episode of Locked On Aggies. Thank you all so much for being here. Hope everybody had an outstanding Super Bowl weekend. Really enjoyed watching the big game. Thanks for being here every single day. Really do appreciate it. And we will see you tomorrow.